All right, welcome to this episode of the GymInformer podcast. I'm Chris Gilbert, your host for this episode. And today our guests are Danny and Dave, the owners of Soldier Fit. This is a pretty unique and pretty cool set of gyms that I'm excited to talk to them about. I got a chance to work out at their OG Frederick location. It's the biggest of their gyms. I got a chance to work out there a few weeks ago. So before we get started, let me show you a few pictures of the gym that I took while I was there. All right, guys. I got a chance to talk to both of you a little bit. I know a little bit about your background, how things started, but can you tell our audience, like, what was the mindset and what, like, kind of inspired you guys to start Soldier Fit?
Dave, why don't you go first for a change?
Yeah, so both Danny and I, we actually worked together at a big box gym many moons ago. I won't show my age, but at the time we were competitors, right? We got a sales gig at a gym called Fitness First. It was a pretty big staple here in Montgomery County, Maryland. They had some locations outside of that. They did a big acquisition with Gold's many years ago. But we both came in as sales reps, and naturally we're both competitive dudes, so we kind of disliked each other, right? I think I was working there at the time. He popped in and he's like, you know what, I'm going to outsell this dude. So I had a target on my back. We'll fast forward in a little bit and explain how that went. It didn't really go that well for him, but that's okay. And so, one day we were like, look, you ever seen the movie Step Brothers? I'm sure everybody here has watched Step Brothers. We were like, do you lift weights? You lift weights? Yeah. You eat protein? Yeah. Did we just become best friends? Yeah. So we kicked everything off. We fast forward a few years later, and Danny got fired for inability to sell gym memberships, which is pretty ironic because now we own a gym. And I got promoted to general manager, and we kind of ran things along from there. And we plugged away. He had a few jobs in between that. I'll let him kind of dig into that. But we're still best friends at the time. Obviously, we're still working out together, and we loved the community atmosphere that current gym had, with the teamwork and the camaraderie. And, not all big box gyms have that, the ones that are doing a really good job have that. And we were like, look, we want to be able to replicate the community atmosphere, but kind of tie the military side. Danny's former military. He's in the Army. I didn't serve, but I have an athletic background. And CrossFit was really popular at the time, and we were sitting in the office. I remember this, and we were coming up with names, and we were like, fit. We're like, there's a ton of like boot camps out there, but like nobody's really doing it that revolves around the military, that gives back to veterans. And we're like, look, let's make this thing unique. And we started coming up with names, and everything was kind of fit. And we were like, military fit now. And then all of a sudden, like we said, Soldier Fit, and boom, light bulb snapped. Nice. I went on the UPS.gov website, trademarked it right away. And then I'd like to say we were off to the races, but it was a slow grind. I was currently working at the gym, and Danny was pretty much like 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. training one-on-one clients, grinding it out. It was definitely a slow grind. We started running boot camps out in the park. In the 90-degree weather. In the wintertime, it was 10 degrees outside. So you can imagine how that went, right?
Yeah.
That was pretty cyclical. So we'd have a big spike when the weather was nice, and then it would die down. And I'll kind of let Danny dig into the turn of the martial arts academy side of the house. But I remember, we set up for our first boot camp out of our sublease space. And Danny, we wrote up a workout for like 5 people.
Yep.
And we had, this was an 8:30 p.m. slot. We were subleasing at the time, and not a very popular time for people working out. So we wrote up a workout for 5 people, and all of a sudden there was 40 people that showed up at the door.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, man, like we got something good here. and then we kind of took it and ran. There's obviously a lot of ins and outs on that side of the house, but that's kind of the humble beginnings.
Nice.
Danny can probably expand on a little bit of that and fill in some of the holes.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I got out of the military. I came from a background that didn't have any money, was very self-conscious about money. There wasn't a lot of training for sales back then, so I had this real negative connotation with sales, and so I didn't look at it as a skill set like we obviously do now. And so I just thought it was a bad thing, and I was not good at it. Like Dave said, I got fired from the job and was really bitter about it for a long time, honestly. Talked bad about sales for a long time. And for anybody that's ever thinking about owning a fitness studio or owning your own gym, you better not think bad about sales, because if you want to help people, you can't help anybody until a sale is made, and that's just the reality of it. So I went in, like Dave said, I got fired from there, got evicted, wound up homeless, did door-to-door appointment setting for a home improvement company, ended up becoming a firefighter. But we had an opportunity to train martial arts together at a gym called Evolve, which is also in Germantown, and ended up both of us having fights on the same night. My opponent got switched out at the last minute, which happens all the time at the amateur level, and actually got replaced by a guy that lied about his fight record, ends up being the head coach for the other team. It was as close to coming to a martial arts movie. The only thing he didn't do was he didn't kill my brother. Dave went out there and beat the brakes off of the guy he was fighting, and so there was all this pressure on me, and they didn't even want me to fight the guy. And I told Master Mike, who owned the gym, I said, hey, I can't promise you that I'll win, but I promise I won't embarrass you. And I went out there and proceeded to get my rear end whooped from one end of the cage to the next. But right as I was getting ready to pass out, the thought came into my mind, you told him you wouldn't embarrass him. And so I managed to get out of the hole, crack the guy, take his back, and win the fight with a few seconds left for a rear naked choke. And I tell people, you're interviewing every day, you just don't know it. And that fight was an interview for us, because Master Mike came up to us afterwards and said, hey, you guys won't quit. Would you like to bring your program into your gym? And he opened the doors for us, and we were off and running, because what it allowed us to do was go from having to be dependent on the weather, having to depend on the season, to now we could run our program all the time. And that gave us the traction to build a membership base that allowed us to actually go out and open our first location without a loan.
Yeah. And we, to kind of expound on that, I mean, we started out inside another gym. We started out outdoors, and then we started subleasing spaces. That was the first one that kind of catapulted. We actually built our sublease database, our locations. We probably had about 7 of them.
Oh, wow.
And then we realized, like, look, this thing has legs. Like, we want to scale this thing to 100, 200, 300 locations. And we just couldn't do that in a sublease space, right? There was only so much we could grow. The class times availabilities were tough, right? Because the main business needs to run in their main times. We were running like a 5 a.m., a 3:30 p.m., and an 8:30 p.m., right? And so we made a pretty scary move, actually. We ended up closing 5 of the 7 subleases to move into our indoor models. And we took our 2 leading locations from sublease spaces, and then we opened our first 2 brick and mortars in 2012.
Oh, wow.
And funny story, we signed 1 lease right away. But again, we were young pups in the game, right? We didn't know a whole heck of a lot about permitting. And anyone who lives in Montgomery County knows that it's not the friendliest of counties. And so we ended up signing the lease. I forgot the date, but it was like 8 months later. Location still wasn't open. Throughout that time, we signed a second lease in Frederick, Maryland, and ended up opening Frederick prior to our first location in Gaithersburg. And then, so it has it, we had 2 locations, brand new brick and mortar locations, open within like a 3-month period. So it's definitely a crash course in business at the time, for sure.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you started with that's a good background of how you started. How many locations do you guys have now?
There's 10 total locations.
Okay. Wow. That's quite an accomplishment to go from where you started just 12 years ago to now having 10 different locations. Now, the location I went to in Frederick is quite a bit different than some of the other locations, whereas it has your group fitness area, but it also has an attached gym. Are there other locations like that, or is it the only one like that?
No, we have a couple other locations that do that. That model is called our Fort model. And then the other model that you went into is called our FOB, which would be the military term for an operating base.
Okay. And so I noticed we always like to talk about equipment. In the Frederick location, from an equipment standpoint, you had a lot of hammer strength equipment. Is there a reason you guys went with hammer strength?
I mean, at that space, it's big enough, and we have the membership base for it. We also offer personal training. So there we have the ability to host and hold a full gym setup. It makes sense. Really, at the end of the day, the thing that separates why we have the FOB model in there is, listen, we want to make a major impact on the trajectory of this country. 50% of this country is slated to be obese in the next 50 by year 2030. As a matter of fact, it's literally a national security risk. It's listed by the Department of Defense.
Oh, wow.
And so if we're going to make that move and we're going to make that attack on there, we want to make owning your own fitness business much more affordable and to keep you from having to do the things that Dave and I had to do. It's been a long ass road since 2007 when we started this thing. You know, we've been in business 17 years. 90% of people out of business by year 10. So what we want to do is use all of that collective experience to help other people. So we do it in a couple of different ways. The first way we do it is we do have a licensing program we call the HERD, which is geared towards personal training and online or hybrid trainers. And then the FOB model, which is a smaller footprint, that's our solely focused on group fitness model. And what it is both of those other options are much more affordable ways for that young guy or girl that's starting out in their fitness career to actually have their own business, but to be in business for themselves, but not by themselves.
No, that's cool. Yeah, no, I like that. And that's one of the reasons why I like, obviously anybody who's paid attention to what we do knows that you guys are a little bit outside of what we normally do. But when I met Dave and talked to you guys about like what you guys do and the military connection and the veteran connection, I was just like, we need to come up and we need to check out your gym and we need to get you guys on the podcast. I'm a veteran. Jason, my business partner, is a veteran. So we just wanted to like get you guys on here. Now, when I was up at the Frederick location talking to Danny, you gave me kind of a rundown of all the things that you guys do to help veterans or to get veterans involved. Could you guys talk about that a little bit? Because I thought that was really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, for the veteran side of the house, there's a couple things we do. As soon as you walk into the facility, you're going to see a Humvee front desk. That's a personal load for me because I spent 2005, 2006 doing convoy security and gunning a Humvee. When they walk in, they're going to be able to see the Battle Cross Memorial. Represents all the men and women made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. We don't have too many rules in the place, but one of those rules are you can take pictures beside it, you can take pictures of it, but we ask you don't touch it, don't put anything on it, pay out, respect everybody. Brings us to our closer policy. We don't close for much. We close for Christmas Day, we close for Thanksgiving Day, but we shut down the entire Memorial Day weekend. From Friday at 1 p.m. to Tuesday at 05, we don't make money while we're breathing. We also have every room is dedicated to a fallen service member. This is nominated from the membership themselves. It ties in directly to our Fallen Heroes policy, which states that any direct dependent of a service member KIA'd in the global war on terror, mother, father, son, daughter, brother, sister, husband, wife, their membership is free for life. We have members at all of those locations. And then, of course, we call our trainers black hats for anybody that was United States Army, was a paratrooper like myself. We know that's a homage to the instructors from Airborne Academy. And, all of our facilities are completely decked out in military decor. So that you come in, you get to go into an adult playground for an hour of your day.
Yeah, no, I thought the decor was really cool and it was very inspiring being a veteran to see all of the military memorabilia and the military, like when you went into the big open group fitness room, like all of the military, like things that you guys did to pay homage to the military, I thought was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and then every month we donate money to a veteran charity organization, and it's not just veteran charities, right? We do things for other local charities as well. Most of the times, our members are the ones that are heavily involved in that. They choose a charity that they care about. So we try to run once a month, whether it's like monetary donations, maybe it's a group of people getting together and helping out, maybe building homes for veterans. Maybe we have a basket for used clothes or, toys for tots. We do those sort of things. So, we're heavily involved in the military, heavily involved in charity and the community as well, for sure.
No, yeah, you guys talked a lot about, so far you've talked a lot about community. I noticed when I was there, I always talk to members when I'm at a facility because they're there every day. I'm only there for the day usually. And that's one of the things that everybody talked about that I spoke to there was community and family. Are there things you guys have done to like try to create that environment in your facilities, or is it something that's come about organically, or is there things that you guys have done to help sponsor that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit of both. I mean, one important thing is our uniform policy, right? So when someone comes in, they're considered a recruit. Everybody has to wear their standard issued uniform to every boot camp workout. So it creates that teamwork, camaraderie aspect, but also, that paying the homage, give back to the military and veteran community as well. But the truth is, like, a lot of people are scared to death about fitness, and I tell this people all the time, right? Like, they're scared to walk into a facility because they don't want to be judged. They don't want to be that person that's sitting in the corner while a group of other people are talking and joking and laughing, thinking that they're the one that's getting laughed at. So just by a simple uniform that everyone wears, it really does. It brings everybody together and creates that teamwork aspect. And then another thing we do is every workout, we line everybody up in a squad. So let's say there's 20 individuals at a workout. There's 5 squads of 4 people. In the beginning of each workout session, everybody introduces themselves to their squad member. So you get to meet new friends, meet new people every single day. And that's like your team for the day. So you're going to travel around the workout with your squad. Some workouts are independent, but you're going to travel around with your squad. You're going to create bonds, friends that go outside of the facility. And then during the workout, either the middle or the end, we call it family time, right? We bring all the squads together and we do kind of a team building exercise with everybody. And then outside of that, right, like, there's only so much we can do in these 4 walls. So we have community events that we run as much as possible, whether that's like, we did a painting night at one of our facilities. I think we did mimosas and boot camp beers and burpees, something like that, right? There's always something going on inside, outside the facility to kind of bring everybody together. So, those are just a few examples of some of the things that we do. We also do awards every single month. We give an award to an individual who's, not only getting results for themselves, but kind of putting their battle buddy first, helping others. They receive a free month and a big plaque. And at the end of the year, we do a huge award ceremony, and we give one troop. Our members are called troops. I always put that in quotation marks to differentiate. And they get a free lifetime membership to Soldier Fit. And then we do an end of the year award ceremony where we bring all the troops of the year and do a troop of Soldier Fit amongst a bunch of other awards. Recognition is one of our core values. So we obviously want to recognize our members, but we have awards for the staff and the cadre and everything like that. So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you mentioned battle buddy. What's a battle buddy?
I mean, that's military 101, right? You don't go anywhere without your weapon. You don't go anywhere without your battle buddy. And so literally when a troop comes in on day one of the first things that's going to happen to them after we introduce them to the instructor is we're going to go find one of our troops that have been there, that has a routine down pat, is being successful themselves, and we're going to pair them up right away. Because, again, Dave talks about it. There's that trepidation. I wish I'd have came up with it. Planet Fitness came up with the great one when they said no gym intimidation. But the reality is, if you've ever been overweight, I used to be 300 pounds. Like, you never stop seeing the fat kid in the mirror, right? And when you're going into a place where you expect, everybody has seen the videos on social media where they're clowning somebody in the gym, which is rubbish, right? Like, you have actual physical proof that the person is trying to better themselves. Like, I don't care how bad they're doing it. Why would you make fun of them? Like, they're literally giving you proof that they're trying to get better, right? And so there's so much fear of that. And the blessing and the curse is our name. Like, people think that, you're going to come into Soldier Fit and we're going to yell at you. We're going to scream at you. And, hey, you know what? You're going to do these push-ups until you puke, and we're just not that. We don't believe in extreme diets. We don't believe in extreme workouts. What we're focused on is the understanding that in order for you to be successful, you need 5 things. You need the workout, you need nutrition, you need accountability. You got to get over the 3-month hump to break those bad habits and establish and recreate the new ones. And you need to be educated so that you know what you're doing, right? And because we put that type of time and effort into them, and part of that process is accountability, and part of that accountability is locking them in with a battle buddy. Because if you tell me you're going to show up at 5 a.m., then you're going to show up at 5 a.m. But if you tell yourself you're going to show up at 5 a.m., you might give every excuse in the book of why you're going to double up tomorrow, which no one doubles up tomorrow, and you don't show. And at the end of the day, that's all it takes is success is to show up continuously.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what inspired me to kind of start doing this was, as you mentioned, I was 300 pounds 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to lose weight. I went to a locally owned gym. They adopted me as part of their family, so it's awesome that you guys instill that right away, so.
And to your point on that, one of the things that's important for us, it's also why we created our licensing program so that other gyms could still keep their own unique identity and be able to work with us and be able to be coached along the way, is because we don't look at other gyms as competitors. Like the reality is, even if Soldier Fit gets to 500 or 1,000 locations, we can't service everybody, right? And if we're going to make a dent in this issue that is obesity facing the country, well, we need everybody to be able to work together. And the plain and simple truth is, I get asked all the time, is Soldier Fit the best workout you can do? No, the best workout you can do is the one you will do. If you told me I can come swim in your pool for $1 a month, thank you very much. I appreciate the offer. It's a great deal. I ain't coming. I don't want to swim, right? So what we look for is, hey, if you love the way that we do things as far as a training modality, come here. We'll help you. We'll get you set up and get you going. But if not, and you want to train for a marathon, I got a buddy that coaches marathon. I'd be happy to send you down to him.
No, it's such a great attitude, such a great way that you guys do things and approach things. So right now you're at 10 locations. You talked about having a lot more. Like, what's next? Like, do you have, are the next locations identified? What's next for Soldier Fit?
Right now, we recently launched our herd licensing program. We've got our first 7 licensed trainers that are in that program, and they're absolutely killing it. They're thriving out the gate. We're going to be using a lot of those licensing programs to, as we would say in the military, be an advance party to go into communities around the world, start prepping the ground for us, so to speak. And then we're always looking for future people to partner with in terms of the franchise opportunity. That is an award process, right? That's just because you got the money doesn't mean we're giving it to you, right? So you have to go through a robust interview section, and through that process, getting fielded out by us and the team. And then if you pass the grade, so to speak, then we'll talk about moving in. But really, we're focused in the MDV area, looking around there. Okay,
awesome. Yeah, now you guys have been at this for a little while now, and you've obviously learned a lot, I'm sure, in the time that you've been doing this. Is there some advice that you would give to someone that's thinking about opening a gym?
Yeah, there's a lot of advice to give, right? I'd say just kind of identify your ideal avatar, right? Your unique differentiator.
Right.
But what happens to most people is they get paralysis by analysis, right? They start thinking about what could go wrong and they start mapping things out. And then eventually time goes by and they don't take the leap, right? You're never going to know whether this thing works or not without doing it. Now, that doesn't mean be ill prepared, right? So, you need to build out your financial model. You need to build out your projections. You need, to build out whether, things hit the fan, right? If things go bad, things go good, things go okay. So you have to build out all of those modalities as well. And then just make sure that you identify what your strengths are. And if your strengths are not certain areas, the biggest advice that I have is don't wait too long to hire somebody else that fills in for those weaknesses. Because what happens is, right, like people open their gym and they're so strapped for cash that they try to do everything on their own. But what they're doing is they're suffocating their business, right? They're not bringing in the right people and doing the things that they're not so good at to allow the gym to grow. And they just kind of, they're almost like treading water as long as they can until they get tired, right? And then they drown, and then their gym closes 3, 4, 5 years later.
Yeah, that's
excellent advice. My advice would be the following. One, I think the biggest mistake people make getting into the gym business is they refuse to accept it's a business, or they think, oh, hey, it's just a gym. Anybody can do this. It is a business just like anything else. In a lot of ways, I'd argue it's one of the hardest businesses to get in, right? Because you're dealing with people's insecurities. You're dealing with people's, self-doubt. Unfortunately, people aren't taking their health as seriously as they should. So it's not necessarily just walk in, okay, I lift weights, or I'm in great shape, or I run the fastest 40 yards you've ever seen, and you're going to sign up with me. There's probably a pile this high of professional athletes that thought they were going to open and run a gym off their name that closed their gyms, right? Mm-hmm. But if you had to pick 2 skills that you absolutely must master in this deal, you got to do sales and you got to understand marketing. If you don't want to do sales and marketing, I'll be honest, I would tell you, don't do it. Don't go into the gym business, because you have got to be able to produce those leads. You've got to be able to share your message. You've got to be able to deliver it in a way that it resonates. And then when they come in, you've got to be able to present your solution to their problem in a way that makes them feel compelled and urgent to take action that day. Because if you wait for them to come back and rejoin, well, we know how many people are going to start working out next Monday.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's a phenomenal point. I mean, I think probably most people that open gyms, and you've probably seen it time and time again too, right, are people that like to work out.
Yeah.
And so they're like, I like to lift, so maybe I'll open up a gym and I'll be able to work out all day. But what happens is when they open their own gym, they work out 0 days, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're not opening a gym for passion. Like Danny said, it's now a business. So they're not just the trainer. They're not just the head coach. They're not just the salesperson. They're not just the manager. They're not just the customer service. They're the accountant. And there's everything involved in a business. And by the time you have that, right, you're not just working out all day. So I think understanding, like Danny said, that this is a business and it's not just a hobby, right?
Oh yeah, I think it's even, like Danny said, it's one of the toughest businesses. And I think it's in the almost 200 gyms that I've been to, you can tell a big difference in the gyms that the owner, now while it is a business, the owners that just treat it like a business, and the owners that have a passion for their business as a gym. I think there's a big difference between business people who own a gym and people who are passionate about gyms who turn them into a business, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. I mean, and you're right. You got to have both, right? You got to have the passion and the business for sure.
Yeah. That was one of the things that, like, in talking to both of you guys obviously have a passion for what you're doing. So I think that's part of why you've been so successful.
One other point too, to drive home with this, is that we have all these people that want to be fitness coaches, right? Mm-hmm. They want to be personal trainers. They want to be fitness coaches. They want to give people all this advice on their health and fitness. Absolutely love it. But then in some ways they're slightly hypocritical because they don't want to go get coaching in their business, mm-hmm. right? Dave and I have always had business coaches. Even as we are now, we just finished up a year of coaching with Bedros Keuilian. So what's important, if you really want to go fast, if you really want to scale, I think Warren Buffett was like, dude, like, you can read every mistake somebody else has made and keep from making it. You can speed up your time to success. So if somebody's out there looking to start a gym, or they have the gym that's struggling, whether it's reaching out to Dave and I for coaching, or reaching out to a couple of the other great institutions that provide coaching out there, 100% do that, because that coach is going to absolutely double, triple, hell, maybe even quadruple your investment if you're able to go out and implement on the coaching and the tips they give you.
Oh, completely. No, I agree with all that. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on.
Absolutely.
You know, it's exciting what you guys are doing. Love what you're doing for veterans. Definitely wanted to have you guys on for it, if nothing else for that. Not that it was nothing else. Sorry, that was a poor choice of words. No, you guys are doing a great job. I think what you're doing is exciting. Thanks for all the stuff that you do for veterans, and I appreciate you coming on. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks for all that you do for the gym community as well. We appreciate you having us on. Absolutely.
And please let us know when you guys open up some more locations. You know, maybe we'll get out and hit some more.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely. We'll be first on the invite.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, brother. Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more great content.